All right, here we go. X-rated. Welcome back to VladTV. And actually, our last interview that we did a while back, you were still in prison. We did it over the phone. So this is our first actual video interview with you.
Yes, sir. It is, man. I appreciate you having me back.
Man, listen, at the time that I did it, I didn't know how long it was going to be before you got out, but I figured it was important to get that story. And ironically, you did get out that same year. Mm-hmm. You know, I would have waited if I had known, but did you even know?
I did know. So what I feel like the reason why I'm glad we didn't wait was because a part of my plan, after talking to my lawyer, Charles Carbone, the dopest prisoners' rights attorney on earth, he was telling me every time someone searched me, all that came up was old gangster shit. He was like, there's no statements of your current psychology. So our interview was actually a really powerful opportunity for me to be able to put things online that represented my current psychology and was saying what I wanted to say with the narrative that I wanted to have. So, you know, I had went to board once before when we did our interview, so I knew what that experience was, and I knew how they had tried to attack me on the other side, from coming from the sheriff and the district attorney who didn't want me to go home. And they were using things that they saw on the internet. So you actually allowed me to flood the internet with a narrative that I controlled, you know what I mean? And I was really grateful for that.
Wow. So you're saying this interview actually helped you get out early?
It did, because it was cited inside of my parole hearing. The fact that I did it, I was completely aware of that. I'd say about 80% of that interview wasn't even for you. I say 80% of the things that I said during that interview were literally said for the board. I was intentionally doing that.
Great. I love to hear stuff like that. I love it. I love it. Well, we had done another interview, but I feel like it's important to kind of retell this story and get into more detail. And now, since you're out of prison and you're not being recorded on a jail phone and so forth, I think we can get more in depth into the story. So let's go ahead and start in the very beginning. So you were born in 1974.
Yeah.
And you grew up on the south side of Sacramento.
Yep, I was born at motherfucking Sutter Memorial and went straight to the south side.
Okay, so you grew up with both parents or just your mom?
Just my mom. So my father's from Pritchard, Alabama. He was in town visiting, who became my uncle, Bo Dick, lived in Oak Park and right across from the community center. So I have family over there. My cousin Jimmy Broadnax lived in a house right next to Bo Dick. Jimmy's mother is my mom's aunt. And so my mother and father were essentially next door to each other in Oak Park, right across from the community center when they met each other. And the rest is history. So my father went back to Alabama, so I would go to Alabama to see him periodically. I think I've spent probably a total of 4 years of my entire life in the presence of my father combined, you know, but I would go to Alabama to see him, or he'll be in Sac at the front door one day and I get to see him. But yeah, that's how that was.
Okay, so Sacramento, right around the 80s, this is the crack era.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up as a 10, 12, 13-year-old, what was that environment like for you?
So for me, the ages of 10, 11, and 12 are awesome. You know, I come from a family that's heavily affiliated. So, like, I got a lot of my family members are Garden Blocc Crips, the hierarchy of the Garden Blocc Crips. A lot of the people at the higher levels, especially from 24th Street, are my blood relatives. And so, for me, I had exposure to that, but my maternal grandmother, Maxine, lived in the South Side on Florin Road in Tamashannon. We were on TK Way and 24th Street. My aunt, Agnes and Artie Barnes' family was on Casa Linda Drive in 24th Street. My cousin Looney Coleon was in Edric Court on 24th Street. So this box in the gardens in Sacramento that's kind of like Meadowview Road, Florin Road, Franklin Boulevard and Freeport Boulevard, that box is essentially the gardens. And I grew up all inside of that box. And then when my grandmother passed, she was kind of the what kept us in orbit. Her gravitational pull kept everybody in place. And when she passed away, it fractured the family. And so I ended up in the streets with my cousins, and that's kind of where it got tricky. I ended up outside.
Now, there was a legendary figure in that area, Jerome McCoy, a.k.a. Big J-Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the guy that actually put you on the set?
I did get put on the set by J-Dog, Chill Will, Big Tom Tom, and Slim Dog. They put me on the set.
How old were you at the time?
Oh, man, I was 15.
Okay. Were you jumped in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How did that go? I hear different stories. You know, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's not a big deal.
I landed a couple punches on J-Dog, and I thought that was awesome, but that was pretty much the highlight of my put on. It wasn't you whooping J-Dog by yourself wasn't gonna happen, nevertheless, when he got 3 people helping him. So I was happy that I landed a couple punches on the big homie. I still feel like a G for that.
Okay. So now you're a 24th Street Garden Blocc Crip.
Yeah.
Now, right around 15, are you expected to put in work?
I mean, that's what it is. That's what it was. You put in work.
So leading up to the incident that we'll get to, what do you think were the most violent things that you were involved in?
I was involved in a lot of violent things, but I think where we're at in my community, it would be irresponsible for me to identify historical events or, to identify myself as a participant in historical events that remain unsolved or that have been resolved. So I don't want to pick at old wounds, but I definitely did my share of dirt, and everybody that's supposed to be aware of it is utterly aware of it for sure.
Fair enough.